Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So in this video we're going to be talking about this new moon in Cancer coming up here on July 5th. Before we get into that though, I just want to let everybody know that I do have personal readings up and on my Etsy store, so mysticalmarkastro.etsy.com. If you're on YouTube, link is in the description. If you're on TikTok, sorry, you'll just have to kind of type that in and go there. I'm sorry about last week if anybody tried to go there and there was nothing there because Etsy suspended my account for no reason. So it's back though, so we're good to go. If you do want a reading with me, the prices are still discounted now. They're not going to stay like that forever. Go to mysticalmarkastro.etsy.com and check those out if you are interested. All right, let's get into this new moon in Cancer here. Let me just pull up the chart on my end. Okay. All right, so as we can see here, new moon, 14 degrees of Cancer. So with this new moon here, it's going to be interesting. One of the things I kind of really want to touch on that's also peaking on this day is actually Uranus making minor aspects to the nodes. As well with this new moon, we are actually squaring the nodes as well, and also in trine to Saturn. So I kind of talked in the last video regarding the full moon in Capricorn, which we're going to have another one here as well at the end of Cancer, with the sun at the end of Cancer, and that moon is actually going to be in an out of sign conjunction to Pluto. So it's going to be an interesting month, I think. However, what I was trying to say here is what I talked about the last time is that it's kind of like stepping outside of your comfort zone a bit, things feeling a bit like uncomfortable. And I think we're going to have a continuation of that here moving forward. And as this is a new moon, it's going to be basically for the next lunar monthly cycle. So for the next month, basically all of July is probably going to feel a bit uncomfortable. Excuse me, there's an emphasis on that. A bit uncomfortable, a bit of change that needs to occur or may need to occur that's going to feel uncomfortable. Right, especially because Uranus is still here in Taurus. Taurus doesn't like to change, but it's kind of being forced to. We can actually see here a septile to this Uranus in Taurus of this new moon in Cancer. So there's kind of like a faded aspect to this coming through. There's an aspect of this that's kind of meant to happen and go through in this way. This square to the nodes can kind of represent that a bit as well with this new moon here in Cancer. So with this square to the nodes, this is extreme cardinal energy. So this is very pushing forward in a new direction kind of energy. Aries cardinal sign, Libra is a cardinal sign, and Cancer is a cardinal sign. Right, so this is kind of like a strong push forward. However, with this Cancer energy, obviously Cancer is relating to our emotions, our home, our family life, where we feel comfortable. However, I think there's still going to be a level of discomfort here. Squaring the nodes is meaning we're wanting to push forward in this new direction. Let go of what's not working for us, move forward in a new direction. Again, with a South node in Libra, it's just kind of dealing a lot of, where we've been put upon, where we've kind of dealt with stuff that we shouldn't have been dealing with, our relationships, things like that. It's aspects of codependency that maybe need to get rid of in some way. There is also this trine here to Saturn, which is now retrograde in Pisces. So I call Saturn in Pisces like the dissolution of that malefic energy. However, with this trine here and with Saturn retrograde, I think there's going to be things that are going to need to take action on or this is kind of related to this discomfort. So Saturn rules Capricorn, which is the opposite sign of Cancer, which is like your work, career, your goals, being the boss, saying no, setting boundaries, the kinds of things that, could be seen as like emotionally hurtful, or the stuff that, people don't really want to do, but you kind of have to do. And I think that's a lot of with this dissolution of this malefic energy. In order to kind of get rid of that, you have to set boundaries against that. You have to stand up against that. You have to, say no to things that maybe you used to always say yes to before. South Node Libra, right? It's always, I'm going to say yes because we want harmony in this relationship, even though I hate myself for doing this. It's that kind of energy. It's like, you know what's going on, especially with Saturn retrograde. This is going back over old ground. It's like you already know what you need to set a boundary on. You already know who you need to say no to. You already know this stuff. And since we're going over this old energy, it's like now you kind of really need to feel that discomfort and take action on that, right? This is a trine, so this is a positive energy. It's a positive energy, but it's not going to feel very positive going through this because we're dealing with Saturn and we're dealing with Cancer, which is going to feel very uncomfortable. However, the outcome of this is ultimately positive, right? This is kind of like that energy that's like you need to do this because it's for your own good. It's kind of like that, right? So it may be a trine, like I said, but it's not going to feel probably very good when you're going through it. So that's kind of a large aspect of this. And again, with this square to the nodes is kind of playing into that. It's like you need to let go of something to move forward in a new direction. This is very cardinal energy. We want to push forward into a new space, into a new direction regarding a lot of this stuff. Right? And like I said, South Node Libra, the aspects of codependency. This could deal a lot with like people too. If we just go off here, so Venus is in Cancer, 22 degrees here, in fact, on Uranus's North Node. So again, this is kind of emphasizing, or sorry, not Uranus's North Node, Saturn's North Node. So again, this is emphasizing this, that maybe this need to feel that discomfort or uncomfortable to do the uncomfortable thing that needs to happen in order to dissolve this old way, this old kind of like corrupt way of these aspects of codependency or injustice or not properly being balanced in some way. And it's relating to, or people, places, things, could be money, could be career stuff, but it's all in that kind of related category that stuff kind of needs to be dealt with in that way. All right, if we actually do take a look at Uranus here, still in Taurus, obviously. It's Uranus here, like I said, is in that semi-square to the North Node and that sesqui-square to the South Node. So with this sesqui-square, this is also kind of known as like a super square. It can be a very intense energy. And these are both Venus-ruled signs, right? Taurus and Libra. And Venus is here in Cancer on top of, like I said, Saturn's North Node at 22 degrees. Almost like dead conjunct within a few minutes there, actually. So there's a strong kind of emphasis on this change that really needs to occur. And it's going to be relating towards people, towards things, towards whatever. And it's going to feel uncomfortable, right? Uranus is here in the sign of Taurus. This is dealing with a lot of fixed energy. It's in a very wide trine here, out of sign trine to Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is in Uranus's sign of Aquarius, dealing with this fixed energy regarding these aspects of change. Fixed signs and this fixed energy does not like change. It likes to stay where it's at. I think there's a lot of people that are very comfortable, Cancer, in certain ways of being, in certain ways of doing. But that needs to change, right? Because there's either aspects of codependency, there's not fairness happening here, there's stuff that's going on. Something's gotta give, right? With this super square, it's like you can't sweep it under the rug anymore. It's very aware, and it's these big shifts and changes. Taurus is very hard to shift and change. It's like the bull. It's like that cattle prod that you need to get to move the bull, to move the cow, right? But it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel comfortable. There's the trine to Pluto, but again, we're dealing with Uranus and Pluto here. Like this is going to be like intense. It's going to be shaking things up. It's going to be making waves. It's going to be stepping into this new space, and in fixed signs, that's going to feel very difficult to do, but it's something that needs to be done. So in essence, this new moon in Cancer is really learning to feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. Learning to set those appropriate boundaries, learning to understand the appropriateness of certain changes that actually need to be made or that we have to go through with this energy that's happening here. Mars is also in sextile to the Saturn retrograde, and Mars is in Taurus. I think this Mars is kind of actually being kind of helpful here in that really you need to kind of really take action on this stuff to dissolve this energy, and it's kind of emphasizing this Saturnian stuff, taking action on that, right? Taking action where you need to say no, taking action where you need to set an appropriate boundary, taking action on a lot of this stuff. One thing I do want to mention regarding these Uranian changes is the North Node of Uranus here is in Gemini. and a bit of a conjunction here to Jupiter. So again, aspects of communication can really be, I think, of a big assistance regarding these changes. You may have to have difficult conversations. You may have to say things that may seem difficult. You may have to, communicate things that you're not used to communicating. It may feel very uncomfortable in saying these certain things, but ultimately, like I said, it's like that. It's for your own good kind of energy. You may not feel very good in doing it, but ultimately, once we're through this, it's like it'll be better, right? It's like a change that needs to occur that you don't really want to have to deal with, you know what I mean? It's like the boss having that difficult conversation with somebody at work. It's like you recognize, if you're a good boss, you're a good human, you recognize that you're all human and you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but at the same time, this has to be dealt with because maybe it's negatively impacting people. And it's one of those, like, you have to have the tough conversation kind of thing, but how do you do it in such a way that it's not going to feel so harsh? There could also be like worldly or global changes that are occurring that maybe people just simply don't like. It's a change that maybe needs to happen, but it's like, okay, I feel uncomfortable with this. This is weird. We haven't experienced it like this. These things are changing. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Right? But it's like, again, it's trying to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And with these minor aspects here, with this semi-square to that North Node in Aries, it's like really pushing for that action to move forward in a new direction, to kind of force a bit of that change. And that sesqui-square to the South Node is like, yeah, the stuff from the past ain't working anymore. You got to really let go of that, right? And that South Node is actually conjunct Mars's South Node there as well. And with Mars in Taurus, like I said, within that sextile to Saturn, it's really about setting those boundaries. It's really learning of that. It's like Saturn retrograde. You already know what you need to say no to. You already know what you need to set boundaries on. You already know what needs to be dissolved, but you have to take action to kind of set that appropriate boundary, set that new structure in place. So there's a lot of this stuff kind of really going on here, and yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Also, this new moon down here, you can see is conjunct Jupiter's North Node as well. Like I said, Jupiter is in Gemini and actually conjunct Mars's North Node along with Uranus's North Node there. So again, this taking action towards these aspects of communication and change. And again, in Gemini, it can be like kind of speeding that up. It's like this stuff is happening. It's going to happen quickly, right? I think this whole, because of this new moon represents like the whole lunar month, like I said before, this whole month of July is not going to feel very comfortable, I think, for a lot of people. And it's going to involve us doing things that we're not very comfortable with doing. But ultimately, we need to take action and shift in these new directions. And, I know July, at least in the Northern Hemisphere where I am, it's summer, and people are going to want to have fun with summer, go on holidays, do all this stuff. It's probably not really going to feel that way, especially in the month of July. I'm sorry to say, but the universe doesn't give a shit about your vacation. Although maybe part of that is you need to actually set a boundary to be like, hey, I'm working too much. I'm taking a goddamn vacation. So piss off. And that could relate to aspects of codependency or injustice, whatever may be regarding your career. So maybe that vacation is actually a good thing that you need to take because you've been basically pissed on by your boss the entire time and they don't give a shit about you and your personal life. And you're saying, F you, I need to set boundaries and do what I want because I'm not your little slave anymore. Right? That is a positive aspect that could be happening. So yeah, maybe I'm just eating my own words in doing this video. But like I said, for some, it may not feel like summer holidays or a summer vacation. For others, it may be like, yeah, I need to take the summer holidays and summer vacation because I've been screwed so much that, yeah, I need to do that. Right? It's that. But it's going to feel maybe uncomfortable in setting that appropriate boundary and doing that because you maybe have to step outside your comfort zone because that's something you're not used to. You may be used to this harmony. You're used to just being a doormat. You're used to being all that stuff, but it's like, not anymore. Nope. You can't stay in this fixated energy of all this stuff going on. If you want positive, appropriate change in your life, you need to actually step outside of that and make those appropriate changes. So again, we're still dealing with a lot of change. We're still dealing with a lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff I talked about all the way back to the solar eclipse video previously before. You can watch all my previous videos on that. A lot of that is still relevant regarding a lot of this stuff. right? And we do have a wide conjunction here, I've noticed. Well, not really wide. I mean, it's within 6 degrees with Pluto's north node as well. So still dealing with aspects, a lot of this transformation and stuff. Pluto is retrograde. So stuff we already know about. Excuse me, spaces we've already gone over. Emphasis on that. And yeah, regarding these changes, these disruptions of our lives that need to occur, that need to be made in some way. And yes, it's probably going to feel uncomfortable. We're in Cancer season. It's just going to feel it's going to feel uncomfortable. But like I said, we need to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So again, I know this isn't the most positive of messages. However, it's like I said, I feel like in the end, this is going to be of more benefit than maybe what we feel going through it, right? It's like it's like those things in life where it's one of those things that you just have to do, even though you don't feel comfortable doing it, or, you're going through this, but in the end, it's going to make you stronger. In the end, it's going to be like, it's a change that needs to occur. When you look at the light at the end of the tunnel, it's going to be like, yeah, once I'm there, this is going to be good. It's just going to be tough to get through it, right? And that trine to Saturn, even though it's a trine to Saturn, like I said, Saturn's going to be tough. This fixated energy with Uranus and Taurus, it's tough because that energy doesn't want to change, but it has to. It has to change. And that change is being forced and pushed upon us. Like I said, there's this fated aspect, this septile here to this Uranian energy in Taurus. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but it has to happen. And it's probably going to happen a lot more quickly than maybe we feel ready for, but it needs to occur. So like I always say, let's focus on love, let's focus on our hearts, understanding that this is going to be tough for everyone that's going to be going through this energy, but it's in Cancer season, so let's at least try to remain focused in our hearts, even though when we have to do these tough things, it may seem difficult, it may feel hurtful, but we got to do our best to kind of do this from the highest vibration, the highest position we possibly can, and understand we're all going through this, and in the end, ultimately, it's going to be good. So again, as always, try to stay centered in your heart, and yeah, this is going to be an interesting month. It's probably going to be a tough month. I'm just going to say that. And again, like I said, we're going to have another full moon in Capricorn. Yeah, with that out of sign conjunction to Pluto. So we'll talk about that when we get to it in the next couple weeks. And try to have a good new moon, everyone. Take care. Have a great week. Bye for now.